Today we will learn something very much interesting, though it's still related to what we learned last time, because we're still talking about the unit of measurement and distance. So today, with what we've learned last time, we believe that it will be very much easier for us to understand today's topic. That means today we are looking at height and distance. Height and distance. This is what we're learning today. Last time we talked about this distance, we talked about the height, we talked about the different, how height is being determined, and the unit that we are used to determine or to use for our measurements. So sometimes when you tell people that please measure the length of this area or measure the distance from here to that point, they will find it difficult. Maybe you use a different name. They'll say, okay, measure it in kilometers, or measure in centimeters, or measure in meters, or measure in millimeters. They get confused. But there's nothing to be worried about that, because we all know that each measurement is done based on the unit that will make it easier for you. For example, we have the millimeters, we have the centimeters, we have the meters, and we have the kilometers. We will deliberate majorly on this. Depending on what you are working on, what you work on determines any of the units of this measurement that we are going to use in our class today. And short distances are not advisable to use higher unit, because this one is a smaller unit, centimeter is also a smaller unit, meter is not really a big one, but we can see whatever we use centimeters to measure, we can also use meters to measure it. But kilometer is a higher unit. So in any long distance, we use kilometers. For example, if you take the distance like from here to maybe from Sweetville to for example to ShopRite, you can't measure that in meters, you can't measure that in centimeters, you can't measure that in millimeters. We know that all this one makes up the higher unit. You could rather measure them in kilometers, because the distance is high, so we use the higher unit. If the distance is small, we use a smaller unit. So that is what we're trying to say. And we all remember, before we proceed, we discussed last time that 10 millimeters give us 1 centimeter. When you have the millimeters, you have 10 of them. Like in the ruler, you have 0, you have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You see 1. These ones are in millimeters, while this one here is. So these ones are 10. They are 10 millimeters. Then this one here now is in centimeters. That means it's 1 centimeter. So 10 millimeters give us 1 centimeter. 10 centimeters give us 1 decimeter. Like I talked about decimeter, though we're not making use of DA, then let's just put it here. Then 100 centimeters. That means 1 decimeter is 10 cm. So it would rather say that 100 cm equals to 1 meter. Then 1,000 meter give us 1 kilometer. 10 millimeters give us 1 centimeter. 100 centimeters give us 1 meter. 1,000 meters give us 1 kilometer. So that's the unit of measurement that we are going to use. So once you know that what you are measuring have exceeded 10 millimeters, or if it's up like 10 millimeters, you know that okay, it's already 1 centimeter. Now, if you have exceeded 100, if you know because sometimes some tapes or some scales or rulers, they might not be all have up to 100 centimeters. So you say that it's 1 meter. So if you have a larger unit, like maybe a measuring tape that is measured in meters, use it for that measurement, because the ruler you have will stress you up to measure up to 100 centimeters. So you use the instrument that is related in meters. Now you realize that you have gotten up to 500 meters. You say, oh man, this 500 meters, for me to measure this in 1 meter to 500, is it not so hard? You say, okay, 500 meters is already half of a kilometer. Now, if you have it up to 1,000, you drop the centimeters, the meters, and the meter is centimeter away. Possibly you can even drop the meters away. Start measuring them in kilometers. So that anyone, instead of you to measure 1,000 times to know that you have 1 kilometer, you just drag it one time. Once you drag it out one time, you've already have your 1 kilometer. So the measurement determines on the unit you are going to use. So if you know it's going to be a very far distance, it is advisable to use the higher kilometer. But if it's a small distance, just like from here to here, you can use your millimeters or centimeters for your measurement. Very, very easy and peaceful. Just like when you're taking to measure your graph book or your paper or your whatever, just within you, you can use millimeters and centimeters. But if it is exceeding, like maybe the length of a room, maybe you should use your centimeters or use your meters. Now, if you know that it's even exceeding that which you'll be using meters, you start using your kilometers. So the higher the distance, the higher unit we use. So now, let us see. For example, maybe you see the length of a pencil that you are using at home. For example, this is my own marker. I can't use this marker, use the graduation in kilometers to measure this marker. Because marker is so tiny, it's too small. So I would rather use, for one pencil, for example, for pencil, I can use millimeters. Yes, so that I can say, okay, let me use my ruler, measure 1, 2, 20 millimeters. You write it. Now, for the size of your, we can make use of a notebook or let's say a table. The size of your table or this one, for example, let's use this board because each table are of different sizes. Let's use this board. So this board, we say board, like the one we're using here, we can use centimeters. Because if you want to measure it in millimeters, it will take a very long time. So you use an instrument that is rated in what? Centimeters. To start measuring, so that once you measure, you know that you've gotten it in centimeters. That way, you use measurement in the one that is rated in millimeters, and you measure and measure and measure before you get to the end of it, you're already tired. So now, let's look at the length of the walls. Our houses, our rooms have walls. You can say that, okay, since I cannot use a ruler to measure my wall, it will take me a lot of time because the walls are long. Let me use meters. So for the walls of your houses, you can use meters to measure your walls. Then, distance between 2 points, like distance, I mean long distance, I'm not talking about space. There is space, it's different between space and distance. Just from here to here, they are just we can call it distance, but when we talk about distances that we use kilometers, you know that it's not just between you and I. So, like maybe from your house to market, from your house to church, from your house to another community, your village to another village, those ones are higher units. So we use kilometers in such measurement. So we say this one we use for distances, we use kilometers as our unit of measurement. So now, if I go to a fashion designer, so please come and take my measurement. He will look at me and say, okay, you are not too tall, but we know that you are tall. We cannot use, let's say millimeters anyway. We can use millimeters anyway, but since you are more than 1 centimeters, let's use your centimeters for your measurement. So you can see that from my shoulder or from my head or from wherever you want to start, down to the ground, I might be, let me say, 7 centimeters and let's say 5 millimeters, just like the tape. Some people prefer to measure it in feet. Yes, some people prefer to measure it in feet, depending on how the length is. So the tape that is used, if it's rated in centimeters and millimeters, you say that maybe from down, maybe you want to sew agbada, from my head, from my neck down, might be like 7 or 5 centimeters and 5 millimeters length. You don't measure it and know that you've got your measurement. But if you use a higher unit that maybe only one of you, for example, kilometers, before you get 1 kilometer, you get like 500 of me. You can't use that to take my measurement because you won't be able to get it. So that means after measuring, you start cutting down, which is what? Stress to you. Now, for example, let's do something. Like we said, use units depends on the kind of measurement you are making. For example, this is point A and this is point B. This is the distance between two consecutive points. Now, if from here to this point is, let's say, 500 millimeters, you can use the lower unit. You can equally say, okay, since it's 500 millimeters, I can even measure it in centimeters. Because 500 millimeters will give us 50 centimeters. That means 500 divided by 10, because 10 millimeters give us 1 centimeter. So you say this 500 now divided by the 10, it will give us 50 centimeters. So you can still use centimeters to measure the distance that covers 500 millimeters. Even if it is 200 millimeters, you can still use centimeters. Even if it is 50 millimeters, you can still use, because 50 millimeters means 5 centimeters. So you can still use both millimeters and centimeters. All you need to do is know that you divide this higher one by 10, because 10 of the small one gives us bigger one. So divide the smaller one by 10, it will give you the size of the bigger one. But if you want to change the bigger one to the smaller one, that means you say, okay, if I make a measurement and discover that I have 5 centimeters, now I want to change it to millimeters. What will I do? I will say, okay, since 10 millimeters give us 1 centimeter, you say, okay, that 5 multiplied by the 10 millimeters, this will give us 50 millimeters. So when you are changing the bigger unit to the smaller one, we multiply. But when you are changing the smaller one to the bigger one, we divide. Because if you have 2000 millimeters, you have to change it. If you want to change it to centimeters, you have to do what? Divide it by 10. That means this will give you 2000 divided by 10 will give us what? 200 centimeters. That is just the simple truth about it. So now, another example is this. We can even convert millimeters even to meters, because you know that 1 millimeter equals to 1 centimeter. 100 meters millimeters. 100 centimeters give us 1 meter. So now, if I take a measurement and discover that I have 3000 centimeters and I want to change it to meters, meters is bigger than centimeters. So I will do what? I will divide it by what? 100. Because it's 100 meters that give 1 centimeter that give us 1 meter. So I will divide this by the 100. That means this will be what? 300 centimeters means 30 meters. So, not that it is not possible for you to use the smaller unit to measure long distances, but it is stressful. It's not everything that will stress us. Let's look for a way to make things easier for us ourselves. Now, but kilometers, let us not bring centimeters there, because before we can take measurement in centimeters, before we can convert it to kilometers, well, I wouldn't want to say anything, but I will want you to argue with me. You come, let's do the practical work. This is not something I have to talk about. When you come, we measure the kilometers and convert them to centimeters, or measure the centimeters and turn to kilometers. You'll see that at the time you're made to finish school, you'll still be doing conversion of what? Units. Now, for example, maybe we have, let's say the length of this whiteboard is 70 centimeters. Yes, because it is not that big, so we use the smaller unit. 70 centimeters. Now, and you are asked to share it among 2 people. What are you supposed to do? You all know that these 2 people are you, yourself, and myself. You divide this by 2. Ordinarily, we know that 70 centimeters or 70 divided by 2 will give us 35. That means you will know that one person is entitled to 35 centimeters. If you like, you might decide to convert the 70 to millimeters. That one is your own personal thing. Because already 70 can divide 2 without any remainder. So if you decide to change 70 centimeters to meters, that means you say 70 because we are converting the bigger one to the smaller one now. So we have to multiply. 70 multiplied by how many centimeters give us 1 meter? 100. Multiplied by 100, which will give us how much? Oh, sorry, give us what? 7,000. That means 7,000 centimeters. Sorry, there was an error. Here it's supposed to be meters, but let's change this one from centimeter to what? Millimeters. That means 10. If you want to change it from centimeters to millimeters, so you have to multiply because centimeter is bigger than millimeter. So if you want to change the bigger one to a smaller one, you multiply it by the number of units that will give you. We should know that 10 millimeters give us 1 centimeter. So you multiply this 70 by 10. This will give us what? 70 millimeters. Fine. But if you want to change it as it's smaller, you want to change it the centimeter now to its bigger unit, the one that is bigger than it. That means you say 70. How many centimeters give us 1 meter? 100 centimeters give us 1 meter. 70 times what? 100. We are going back to where we are coming from. I will have left it anyway because the mind wasn't there. That's not where my mind was going. This will give us what? 7,000 centimeters, which is equals to what? So you can see that from here now, changing centimeters to meters, that means the centimeter is small, the meter is big. So you now divide it. Just like I was talking about, if you are changing from big to small, you multiply. So what we do here, we say this multiplied by what? 100, which is equals to, because we're changing to meters now. Meter is bigger than centimeter. So this will go with this. And from our division of numbers, we say whenever a whole number is dividing a number that ends with a 0 or 2 or 3, depending on the number of zeros, the decimal point moves 1 place or 2 places or 3 places, depending on the number of zeros to the left. That means 7 divided by 10 is what? 0.7. So that means 70 centimeters gives us what? 0.7 meters. Some people are confused. Look at what we did here. 70 divided by 100. Let's believe this is our point is here. Now we want to divide this 70 by 100. So the decimal point will move 2 times to the back. That's 1, 2. That means this decimal point is like it has been removed from here. That is how we got to this 0.7 or you say 0.70. That is how we got here now. So this is how to convert the bigger unit to the smaller unit. Now let's talk about height. As I'm standing, I am not long, I am tall. Some people make this mistake. If you ask them, how tall are you? They will tell you, my trouser is shows that I'm 55 meters long or 5 centimeters long. A human being is not long, a human being is only tall. So, but if you want to talk of just your part of your body, for example, your hand, yes, your hand is long, no problem. Your legs are long, no problem. But as a human being as you are not long, you are only tall. Now, your height. This is Mr. Michael that's teaching us mathematics, our mathematics teacher. If you check from here to here might be 15, let's call it in meters. Like I said earlier, some people prefer taking measurement in feet, which I've seen so many tailors. I go for measurement to take it in feet, but the tape that they're using, most of them are graduated in meters, centimeters. So if this is 15 meters from my head to toe, although let me say from my shoulder, sorry, I don't wear cloth on my head, except the scarf. That means the hands will come here. From my shoulder to my trouser. Maybe I want to sew an agbada so that when I wear the cloth, I will look like this. My shoe will come out here. This is the kind of cloth I want to sew. So with this, you see that okay, this is want to sew a longer cloth. From here to here is 15 meters. This 15 meters, okay, but the tape I have is it went bad on the tape because someone cut my tape. It's not as long as it's supposed to be. It is now short. So let us change it to centimeters. I will say okay, you want to change 15 cm, which is my length, to 15 meters to centimeters, right? You say okay, that means we have to multiply it. How many meters give 1 centimeter? 100. That means 15 times 100 is what? 1,500 centimeters. So that means the distance that I will use is now 1,500 centimeters. That means we are converting from the higher unit to the lower unit. But had it been, I have measured in centimeters and I give them 2,500 centimeters, and they have to reduce it back to meters. All we have to do is what? We'll divide it. You know that centimeters and meters, they have 100 difference. So this will go with this will go with this. We have 25. That means my height in meters will be 25 meters. So when you are converting from the smaller unit to the bigger unit, what do? You divide. If you are converting from the bigger unit to the smaller unit, what do? We multiply. So that is for height and distance. So whatever the unit of your measurement determines or depends on what you want to do. So like I said earlier, if you feel like converting it is at your convenience, but higher units will not allow you to use higher measurements will not allow you to use lower units. So that no when you measure to tell you 5 million centimeters. Only the millions alone have already frustrated you. You don't know what to do. So it's better you convert it from centimeters now to kilometers. So you know that okay, this 5 million kilometers now divided by 1,000. What are we going to have? You know that you have what? 50,000. So that is how to break it down from the highest level that it is, the highest number that you always scatter our brain, to the smaller number that it is so that we know. So far we have gone. We talked about the length and we talked about the height. You can use both measurement, both the measurement used for distance. You can also use them for height. Just that some people take pleasure in using feet for height. But for what we have done today, I just want to believe that conversion of unit is just the major thing that we need to know. If it's about multiplying, we have multiplied. If it's about division, we have divided. So if it's addition and subtraction, if you have 20 meters, and we all know that 20 meters means 200 centimeters. That's what 20 meters is. And you are asked, and another person measured and have 15 centimeters. They will ask you 20 meters plus 15 centimeters. What is the total distance? What will you say? You say is now 20.15 meters, because this one we intend is 20. But if you don't want to leave it in meters, you will say okay, 20 meters means 200. 15 centimeters, you say 200 plus 15. That's 215. Now you are changing from meters. It's no longer meters, it's in centimeters now. This is 200 centimeters, which is 20 meters, and 15 meters, which are giving us 215. So you say it's 215 centimeters. But if you want to use it in meters, it will be what? 20.15 meters. So the higher unit give us smaller numbers, while the smaller unit give us higher numbers. Like I said earlier, my name is Mr. Michael. I believe you understand. You enjoyed the class today. If there's anything here you feel that you don't understand, I am ever ready to welcome all your questions. Ask. I will I'm available to answer all of them. So, as you've always been so attentive, I want you to go right inside the mind. The evaluation questions that will come at the end of this class, work on them. If there's anything confusing you, ask questions. I'll be glad to receive your questions. Thank you. God bless you.